Hello and welcome to another edition of me reading the Hope Chest. We are getting to the end of the book. We will actually finish the book this week, which is super duper exciting. I hope things are going well for you. I miss seeing you all face to face, but I'm super glad we've been able to do this online learning. So if you remember, a few weeks ago, we talked about a senator named Harry T. Byrne, and he is that young chap up in the upper left-hand corner. And today we actually get to, he receives a letter from his mother, and that's a picture of his mom on the right. And then that note that you see is actually it's actually a copy of the letter that the mom wrote to Harry T. Byrne. In the book, it's just a short paragraph is what's written down, but the actual letter was like 7 pages long. But what part is included in the book here is pretty close to what she actually wrote, so she picked a few things about it. In the evening, there was an anti-party on the mezzanine. The antis were celebrating because North Carolina legislature had rejected the Susan B. Anthony Amendment. Violet went for the refreshments. She didn't wear a red rose, and she didn't bother to pretend she was an anti anymore. She went as herself. "Here's to North Carolina," Miss Josephine Anderson cried, lifting a glass of grape lemonade high beside the Confederate flag on the wall. "Hear, hear! May Tennessee follow in her footsteps," said Mrs. Pinkard. "They actually didn't vote it down," a woman near Violet said conversationally. "They voted to table it till next year." "Oh, really?" said Violet politely, eating her pineapple ice. "We might do the same," said the woman. "If it looks like we're going to lose, which just between you and me and the barn gate, I want the Susan B. Anthony Amendment to pass." The woman looked at her in surprise. "Young lady, that would be the worst thing that could happen to American womanhood." "Why?" said Violet. I can think of lots of things that can happen to American womanhood, like right now when we're being taxed but not represented, and we can go to jail for breaking laws that we didn't pass." She thought of Chloe, Myrtle, and Mr. Martin, and wondered if they were all in jail now. If they weren't, why hadn't she heard from them? "That shows how much you know," said the woman angrily. "Woman has a great deal more political power now than if she'd have the right to vote. Right now, when a woman goes to her congressman or senator and asks him for something, he knows that she's completely disinterested. She has no political stake in what she's asking for." "It seems to me that would only work if he doesn't have any political stake in what she's asking for either," Violet said. "Young lady, did you just contradict me?" Violet thought about what she'd just said. "I guess so." "You're a very badly brought up young lady." "No, I'm not," Violet contradicted again. "I'm a very well brought up young lady, but I'm getting over it." She started to lift her bowl to her mouth and drink the last melted bit of pineapple ice, but then decided she'd better not lose all her manners at once. She set the bowl down on the table. "You know, when you think about it," Miss Escudero was saying loudly nearby, "here it is, 1920 already. I mean, doesn't it seem sort of, I don't know, crazy that women haven't gotten the vote yet? Still haven't gotten the vote yet?" "Anisette, hush, you don't know what you're saying," said Miss Pearson. "Yes, I do," said Miss Escudero. "I may not be very fast, I might not be very smart, but I know when someone's trying to pull a fast one on me. We're women, so what are we doing fighting against women getting the vote?" Miss Pearson opened her mouth to answer, then shut it as a page boy rushed into the room, followed by an anti who was guarding him to make sure he arrived safely, and thrust a note into Miss Pearson's hand. Everyone watched while Miss Pearson read the note. "The House is adjourned till tomorrow," she announced, "so it will go on another day." There were murmurs all around. This was not good news for the antis, Violet realized. They had been expecting a vote today, and an easy win. Chapter 18, August 18th. Chloe and Myrtle had still not shown up. It was Wednesday, August 18th. There had been meetings all night long at the Hermitage, both Suffs and Antis, and the sound of the elevator running up and down had combined with the stifling heat to keep Violet awake most of the night. Violet could think of no way she could find out what had happened to Chloe and Chloe and Myrtle and Mr. Martin. If she went to the police, would they even tell her? Would they arrest her and question her? Did those Palmer agents even have anything to do with the police? What if they never came back? What would Violet do? Should she write her parents for help? Would they even help her? Violet had to admit, though she didn't want to, that they probably would. They might come to Tennessee on a train full of fury to rescue her, or they might call the police and tell them to arrest Violet and keep her in jail till they came. Was that what had happened to Hobie the hobo? Violet went down to the lobby, thinking about all this and about finding something to eat. But as soon as she stepped off the elevator, she was caught up in a tide of people surging toward Capitol Hill. "You'd better hurry or you won't get a seat," a woman called as they climbed. Violet didn't know her and couldn't tell where the woman was a suff or an anti. There were hundreds of people climbing up the hill. Violet looked around for Chloe, but she didn't see her. What if she never saw Chloe again? There, she spotted a yellow rose on the ground, and she picked it up and struck it in her hat. "If they're going to vote, it means the antis are sure they're going to win," a woman near Violet said grimly. Violet turned around and recognized Miss Kelly from the train. "Good morning, Miss Kelly," she said politely. "What do you mean?" "Seth Walker controls when the vote happens," Miss Kelly said, panting as she climbed, "and the antis own him. That's why the vote's been delayed for so long. Walker's been waiting till he was for sure." Violet felt a sinking in her stomach. What Miss Kelly said made perfect sense. When she looked up to reply, Miss Kelly had vanished in the moving throng. There was still no sign of Chloe anywhere. The crowd carried her into the dark, vaulted first floor of the Capitol. They surged up the wide stone staircase with the bullet-gouged handrail. Violet looked around, hoping to see Chloe in the crowd, but elbows and shoulders closed in all around her, blocking her view. In the light, high-ceilinged main floor of the Capitol, everyone was pushing toward the House chamber. The doors were open, and people were pouring onto the House floor. Violet joined them. Soon she was one of hundreds of women crowded among the old mahogany desks in front of the High Speaker's dais. "Out, ladies, out, please," a harassed-looking man in uniform was saying. "Spectators are forbidden on the floor. All up to the galleries, please." He put his hand on Violet's shoulder. "Up to the gallery, please, miss." He gave her a little shove toward the floor. Violet went out. It was too crowded on the house floor, and she couldn't see what was going on very well from there anyway. She started toward the narrow stairs to the spectators' gallery. Then she noticed a folded paper on the stone floor. It was an envelope. It was addressed to Harry T. Byrne, Hermitage Hotel, Nashville, Tennessee. Violet held the envelope up in her hand, uncertain what to do. It was a letter to Mr. Byrne, and it might have been important. But Mr. Byrne was an anti. He had danced with Chloe and with Violet and remained an anti. Every list she had seen of him listed him as an anti. The envelope was open. Violet looked around her. The high-ceilinged hall was full of people heading toward the galleries, or toward the house floor, or just milling about in confusion. The stone walls and ceiling rang with footsteps and voices, and an occasional high-pitched nervous laugh. You could feel the tension in the air, Violet thought. There was a sense that today really was the day after yesterday's false alarm. It was very wrong to read other people's mail, and Violet knew it. She thought about how angry she had been at Mother for reading her letters from Chloe. But this was different, she told herself. This letter had already been opened. She glanced around. Nobody was paying any attention to her. She slid the letter out of the envelope and unfolded it. This was very wrong, she thought, but she read it anyway. "Dear son, hurrah, and vote for suffrage. Don't keep them in doubt. I noticed some of the speeches against. They were bitter. I have been watching to see how you stood, but have not noticed anything else. Don't forget to be a good boy and help Mrs. Cat put the rat in ratification. Your Mother." Alrighty. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.